You are listening to Live Free with Rebecca Packard. With this podcast, Rebecca will help spiritual entrepreneurs and mompreneurs experience emotional freedom so that they can create calm and balance in all areas of their life. If you're ready to release your emotional baggage, trauma, and that constant feeling of overwhelm, then you are in the right place. Your journey starts now. Here's your host, Rebecca Packard.
Hi, welcome. It's Rebecca Packard. I'm so glad that you're tuning in today. I am really excited. You guys, we have a special guest, Victoria Shaw. If you are not familiar with her, she is the host of Intuitive Connection podcast and has been a featured guest on the Laura Powers Healing Powers podcast, along with the Intuitive Woman podcast and the I Do podcast. She's been seen in a lot of places. She works with her intuition. She does Reiki, and she is well known in the California Bay Area. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
I'm great. I'm so excited to have you here today. We had a lovely conversation the other day, and to extend that conversation so that everyone else could tune into it, you guys, she just has so much to share about living in alignment and just like taking everything in stride, and how you can move energy around you. And it was lovely to go through and have a conversation with you about how, like, you know, life is life. Life is life, right? We just experienced that too. It's not even Mercury retrograde. And the universe is like, technology is a silly, silly critter.
My Mercury has not gone direct yet. My Mercury is still in retrograde. I don't know why, but I'm about a week or two behind.
It's all good. It's all good. So I know you through different connections and whatnot, and we've chatted, but my audience may or may not know you. So how about you take a second, introduce yourself, and give a little back history on how you came to be an intuitive and a podcaster and be in the realm that you are in.
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. And thanks again for having me. So the work that I do is I call myself an intuitive coach or counselor, and I combine my training and background in counseling and psychology with intuitive guidance. And for me, my first love and passion was the mind and the brain. And I was so fascinated by those big questions, like what is consciousness and how do we understand the world and how do we reason, that I pursued a PhD in psychology. And when I got to the end of that journey, I went to an Ivy League. I was all in. When I got to the end of that journey, I lost my passion. All those big questions, all of the big things that I wanted to know and do just were not really able to be encapsulated in that scientific model. And I was doing really cool research, and I was publishing papers and doing everything I was supposed to be doing. And I remember going to my advisor, who was about as high as a person could get in this particular field, and say, you know, Phil, when do we get to start asking those big questions, the really meaty ones, not just the ones that, you know, you can answer with an experiment in the lab? And he said, I don't know. And that was the moment for me where I said, okay, this is not the life that I want. So I took some time off and I started my family. But I kept hearing this persistent, you know, whisper that there was something I was supposed to be doing. And I didn't know what it was, but I knew it was there. And it took me a while because I had a lot of ideas about what that something should be. Again, being an Ivy League trained psychologist, being in the left brain world, living in New York City, which is a very particular energy. But I kept listening. And at the same time, my kids were having some struggles. And we had fallen into the lap of a very atypical pediatrician who kept sending me to all these weird people, these acupuncturists and energy healers and cranial sacral therapists and astrologers. And, you know, it sort of got me to recognize that there were this whole other world out there that I really hadn't given much attention to, and that what they had to share was super helpful, super useful. And the other thing that kept happening when I kept going to all these people is they kept saying to me, Victoria, you're so intuitive. What are you going to do with this? And finally, I listened. finally I listened. And the moment I made that decision to awaken and tap into my intuition, everything about my life changed. And kept following my intuition, and I do it every single day, and it keeps giving me more, showing me more, and teaching me how to be of service.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think so many people are having that light knock on the door, light knock on the door, light knock on the door, and then it's like, hello.
Yeah.
Hi, we're over here. Are you going to tune in?
Yeah. And for me, all this went down. I mean, I got my PhD in the 90s and started having my family. My daughter was born in 1997. So it was a while. But for me, I've been at this now for about 12 years. I mean, I think it's a little more than that since I began, but I started my practice about 12 years ago. But I feel now things are really accelerated. So for me, it was like dribble, dribble, dribble. Okay, I'm in. But now people are just getting sledgehammered over the head. I just see more and more people. All of a sudden, it's happening fast because the energy on the planet is really accelerated now, much more than it was 10, 15 years ago, even.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was like noticing that more people are more like balloon pop, boom, you're in, congratulations.
Exactly.
Like they knock on the door, hi, Publishers Clearinghouse, you're an intuition. It's on
Exactly.
full go now. That's fantastic. And in the space of living, how do you end up in California?
How did I end up in California? And I'm actually in San Diego, not the Bay Area, but
sorry.
it's okay. No, because as I've discovered since I moved here, California is a really big state. People will say, like, how are you doing with those fires? I was like, there's no fires
You're not
here.
near me.
It's a really big state, guys. But yeah, so for me, that decision was made last summer. So, well, not last summer, the summer of 2020. Where I was having some personal stuff go on in my life. And actually, I was doing an energy healing with one of my teachers. And she said, hey, you should move to California. And I said, yeah, I should. So it was it was a pretty big thing. And, I always say this because, my living is giving people intuitive guidance. But it's always the way that I see it is holding the space for other people to hear their guidance. And sometimes it comes out of my mouth and sometimes it comes into their head during a session. And ideally it does both. But so for me, that moment when she said it, I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly right. And I think the seeds for me were planted in 2019. I came out to LA for the first time to see a concert, true story. And stayed at a hotel in Santa Monica, and I was working when I wasn't I was there for, I think, about a week, 10 days, but I was working throughout because that's what I do. And just sitting at the beach because that was a good place to work and seeing my clients and doing sessions with my feet in the surf and just that whole lifestyle. And I think that was the moment that I decided.
Nice.
I just needed a year to catch up. Sorry?
I said, I love the rose gardens where you are. There's like that garden that's all those different roses, and they have like some really, really stunning, like really hybrids that are like this super peach, and then they have purple around the outer edge. I've never seen a rose like that before.
I'll have to go look for that. I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh yeah, it's not too far from the zoo, but
that's close to me.
It is. Oh, there you go. I haven't been to San Diego in a really long time, but it is a lovely space. Well, I love that you said that you were working with your practitioner and that intuition comes through you and into other people to help you. I think a lot of people get confused that like messages from outside spaces are intuition also.
Yes.
They're very much signs and like, here's a piece of candy, here's another sign, come this way. And it comes through different places. And I love that you're reaffirming that and saying that also, because even if you're brand new to this or you're well practiced, having your own team of people helping you and having the openness to recognize your signs and messages from outside sources, that's still a use of your intuition. That's still a connection, because we are all one space. We're all one energy.
Yeah.
So we're always like, oh, maybe my radio frequency isn't going to pick that up, but if so-and-so says it, I'm going to be like, oh yeah.
Exactly.
So keep that in mind, you guys, as you're listening along to this. You're getting messages from all over. It's just, are you willing to hear them? Are you willing to see them? Are you willing to open up to them? So when you're working with someone and you're having a moment with them and they're tuning into their intuition and you're tuning into your intuition and you're moving through the flow of what you do you find that a lot of the times you're able to take on different things that you wouldn't usually experience? So like one of the conversations we had was you were having smells.
Yeah, that was my smelly day. I remember that.
It was a smelly day, and we knew we were going to be talking. We knew we were going to be working together, and I sense in smell, sight, sound, all the things. And Victoria doesn't usually smell things, but all day she was smelling things. So I'd love for you to like explain about how when you're working with people or when someone's meant to come into your life to extend your intuition, the elevation of how that works. Do you
Yeah,
find that happen
absolutely.
often?
Yeah, well, you said a couple of things. One, I do get smells, but it's not my primary. I know some people don't get taste and smell, but no, I do. But the day that we worked together, I was doing past life readings in my Facebook group, and every past life reading, I was getting a smell. And that's not typical, right? Usually I'm more visual or auditory or I feel, but I was smelling like all of these different places. And then when I got on the call with you, Rebecca, you said, oh, that's one of my primary ways of getting information. And yeah, sometimes we tap into each other. I don't see auras. So that is not a thing that I do. I can feel into it, but I don't have those visual experiences. But every once in a while, a client will come into my office and I will see their aura. And a lot of times that means that they do, or that they are ready to do it, because I'm tuning into their energy. And in so doing, sometimes that, they're augmenting my gift. We're working together. And I think it's really important whenever you work with an intuitive type person or an energy healer or whatever you do, anyone who tells you that they're doing the work and you're just the passive recipient, it's first of all, run, because that's a very disempowering message, but also it ain't true. It's always a collaboration. And it's really, what the healer is doing is they're helping you to activate that healing energy within you. And so I learn from my clients, from every client. Sometimes I learn about me. Sometimes I learn new things to do, new modes of being. I learn from them, their energy, their guides, and it's a collaboration. It's always a collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I always have that one thing where I'm like, when I go to work with someone as me being their client, I'm like, so what do you practice?
Right.
What's your personal care practice? And if they're like, or I'm like, so how do you view this? And if they're like, oh yes, I'm the all-seeing eye and I know all things, I'm like, okay, I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Or, oh, I don't
Yeah.
have a self-care practice. I don't do personal protection. I'm like, I'll call you later.
Yeah. We want to walk the talk.
Yeah. That's really important to say that too, because a lot of people are very much coming into the space and some of them just don't have guidance, don't have people in their lives. They're like, I'm new to this. I don't want to tell people I'm doing this because I don't want people to think I'm crazy. And so they are like, I don't even know what to do. So I'll just find the first person that pops up. And you know what, you guys, even in that case, those people are a lesson. Those people are a learning tool. Those people are a space to grow. And everyone's at their own level in their own journey. And we're helping each other along, right? There's a quote that I just keep seeing frequently lately is we're all just walking each other home, right?
One of my favorite quotes.
Right. And so when we're walking each other, we're holding hand in hand, side by side. We are together on this journey. So I really think that it's important to remember that. And all of this is an evolution. Like, you've been doing this 12 years, you're always learning new things. I've been doing this a decade, I'm always learning new things. I'm always starting new practices. And you will too. You will constantly be in an evolution. And sometimes you'll just go, I'm putting the whole cart down, I'll see you in a week or two. And that's fine, because it lets you reset, rebalance, realign, and readjust, and pick up the things that really were useful for you and that can extend your journey, and then let go of the things that you've outgrown. In that space, what are some of your favorite self-care things as somebody who sees clients, and you see clients one-on-one, right? Like in the people, in the meet, in the room, right? You do
At the
both.
moment, I've been fully remote, and I have clients all over the world, but I'm just about to sign the lease on a space here in San Diego. So when I was in Connecticut, I had an office, and I will
And you
have one
go,
here too. Yeah. But
okay.
a big part of my practice is online and remote and working with people, phone and video. And I've been doing that for years. I've had clients, from the very beginning that I've been working with for 10 plus years and have not ever been in the room with them.
Yeah. But in the space of being in the same room, what are your personal practices that keep you at your top game, like
Right.
on your self-care? Because I'm finding there's a lot of people who are like, this is a big time for spiritual spaces to open up. They're all opening their doors and calling the people in, and having a sacred space and doing this work in a space is holding energy for a very big space. And so I feel it's important for someone so well practiced as you are to be able to help share how important that is, and the tools that you are using that help to also not drain you.
Right.
Because you're holding that space. So
I mean, you said a lot of different things. I would say too, it's always a sacred container when we work. And so before every session, I say a little prayer. I set the container wherever I am, because it's in some ways it's the same whether I'm with you on the phone or I'm with you in person. And so that's important. There are differences for sure, but I always set the container, always set the space. I often light a candle, especially when I'm working with someone remotely. And again, it's not a crazy, like, oh, we got to keep the evil spirits out. I'm not about that at all. I like to light that candle as sort of a symbolism of sort of igniting the light that we're going to use for our session. And then also at the end of the session, I blow that candle out, and it reminds me that the session's over and that the union that was created between me and the client for the purpose of the work that we do together is released. When I first started seeing clients remotely, I would literally get up, open the door, close the door, let them go, which was really funny when I was in a shared workspace and I was letting, imaginary people out at the end of these sessions. But it's super helpful.
It's important.
Yeah, it's super helpful.
To disconnect that energy.
Yeah.
A lot of people are taking all of the energy all of the time, and they're carrying it everywhere constantly. And there's no disconnection. I love that you said that, because I only do 100% remote unless I'm doing like a live group, and that's never in my own space. I'm always invited to a space or at a speaking engagement. And so even at those places, I set the container, like you say. I set up, I do my prayers, I do my cleansings, I do my connection ritual, and I move from there. And I do that in between every session. I do clearing, and then I reset for every session. So I'm in the one-on-one conversation bless you, with people, and I'm not taking one person to the next session and the next person to the next session. Because it gets exhausting if you try and do that.
And even if I'm doing a big group reading, which is not something I do a lot, but I do like to do them in my Facebook groups, or if I'm teaching a class, even if I'm doing a big group reading, and I just did this with a master who that's what she does in the Facebook group, one of my podcast guests, and watching her work was amazing. But the way that I do it, so it's like, boom, 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 reading, 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 reading. I always take a moment to pause, to tune back into my own energy, because one of the things that's really important is to know what your own energy feels like, to be in your body, to know where that center is, and find it again and again and again. People that I see that are empaths, people that I see that take on the energy of others, part of the deal is they don't know what they feel like. And so practices like meditation, practices like breathing, practices like visualization can help you know what your own essential energy feels like. And to me, that's the ground, that's the home. So I come back to my center, I come back to my own energy, I let them go, and then I start again.
Right.
And, in some ways, my guides are saying it's easier when you're doing a lot of quick readings because you don't connect so deeply. When you're doing a 45, 60-minute reading, then sometimes, you need a little more time. I don't schedule people back to back. I always leave at least 10 minutes between clients for me to kind of go back, walk around, sometimes even check my Facebook, believe it or not. Grounds me, just gets me back into the 3D, drink some water. If I'm doing hands-on work, because I don't touch people, but I do remote work
Right.
with my hands, energy work, I'll always wash my hands because that also just helps release the energy. So all of those things. And I don't do it from a place of fear. I just do it from a place of release and just coming back to home. And when you're carrying around other people's energy, you're not helping them. So it's for both of us, right? It's
Well,
it's breaking that connection because our union was important to the extent that we connect for the time that we are together, and then it is no longer useful.
yeah, think of it like hygiene. You have
Yeah.
your tangible hygiene. We're all walking around washing our hands. We're all walking around washing. You wash off the desk in between
Right.
humans. It's the same in the space of intuition. It's in the same in the space of that full distance. You're still keeping that hygiene going because everybody benefits. You
Yes.
can you can make it so easy and so effortless, and it doesn't ever have to come from a place of fear. It shouldn't be
Nope.
coming from a place of fear. It should be coming from a place of love. If
Yeah.
I'm going to show up at your house, you're going to clean your house before I come over. Well, if you're going to show up at my house, I'm going to clean my house before you come over. So it's just like keeping that going, even in the space of sessions and working remote, working in one-on-one. And the more that we do that, the more we're actually empowering clients because they're getting, oh, okay, I can do this. I
Right.
can do this. I don't need to hand you my luggage and you'll carry it around and I'll feel great until you disconnect from me. I can do this too.
Yes.
So I love
Thousand
that.
percent. 1,000%.
And so in all the things you do, because
A
you're
lot
so
of things.
well versed and you do all these wonderful things. When you're taking care of yourself, you've unplugged, you're like, it's me time. What's your favorite go-to self-care thing?
I love to be out in nature. I love to be in the sun. You can kind of tell. I love to be near the water. So one of the beautiful things, I lived in Connecticut, so I lived, 10 minutes from the beach, even in Connecticut. But here, I'm a 15-minute walk to the ocean. And so for me, probably the most restorative thing I do is just walk on the beach, put my feet in the surf, um, and just seeing water. It just changes something for me. I spend a lot of time doing things that bring me joy. Sometimes simple things. I just bought a ukulele, not good at it. Yeah, not good at it, but
I don't think I've
um,
ever heard a ukulele that doesn't sound amazing. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I
one
I
of
have
those
played
wonderful.
guitar, also not good at it. But I just, I saw the ukulele at the farmer's market. I've been eyeing it since I moved here, and I was like, this is just, it makes me happy when I look at it. It makes me happy when I pass by it in my house. It makes me happy when I try to tune it. And could not figure out what was wrong, but apparently I tuned one of the strings to the wrong note, but I fixed that this morning. Right. But regardless, I do things that bring me joy, simple things. I also do the normal self-care things that people do that are very important. I feed myself pretty well. I get a lot of sleep. I need a lot of sleep. I have my downtime. I hydrate. That is one thing I'm learning to do more of in California because it's way drier here than I'm used to. So I do all those things too. I make sure to spend time with people that uplift me. And I'm a more of an introverted person, so I also need a lot of alone time. So that's the other thing I've learned about myself. And for me, I love interacting with other people in my work. That is my sweet spot. That is what I do. But on my downtime, I do spend a lot of time on my own
Yeah.
because that really helps me.
And it's okay. Okay. Like,
It
guys, if
works.
you're listening, it's okay. Because
Right.
I hear a lot of people say, oh, but I gotta do this. I gotta go here. I gotta see this person. I gotta do that thing. It's okay to not want to people
Yes.
sometimes.
Yes.
Okay. And that
Yeah.
can be your self-care. I also love that you say sleep. You guys, I get that there are lots and lots of people out there pushing, oh, 4 to 6 hours of sleep. You'll be amazing. It'll change your life. Sleep is essential to healing your body, and 7 to 8 hours is key. And if you can get 7 to 10 hours, it's even better.
Yeah.
And the more you sleep, the more rest and restoration you get. This whole push, 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 be the best, climb the mountain, be the mogul, don't sleep to do it, just stay up till 4 a.m. working. You're most of you are entrepreneurs. So it's real easy for y'all to get real crazy and stay up till 3, 4 in the morning. And we've all done it, right? We've all done it, but sleep is essential, and especially when you're in this kind of work, when you're, a lot of you are, I mean, we're all over the place, and you guys reach out to me. A lot of you are intuits, you're empaths, you're psychics, you're mediums, you're all the things. Sleep when you are comfortable to sleep, and don't always think you need to be on somebody else's timestamp, because we all know we're not. So like, you're asleep, maybe you do go to bed at 1 a.m, but make sure you're getting like 8 hours. Make sure you're getting real sleep.
And everyone needs different amounts.
Right.
But I would say, if you are going to bed when you feel tired and you are waking up for the most part without an alarm, that means you're getting enough sleep. Right.
Yeah.
I don't set an alarm unless those weird days when I have something, because I still have some people on East Coast time that like, I can't work with you afternoon. I have to see you in the morning. But those days, occasionally I set an alarm, but it's probably like once or twice a month. And my body just wakes up when it's ready. And I don't have small kids, so, I have a little more flexibility. No one has to go to school that can't get themselves there themselves. But that's how you know. That's how you know if you're getting enough sleep. And I think it's so important to prioritize. And it's not a number. It's really, do you feel rested, and are you pushing yourself through when you're tired and you would like to be in bed? Because if you feel tired, you should go to sleep, most times.
And most people are walking around zombies because they're like, well, I had to stay up.
Well, a lot of us have this conditioning that tells us our value is in what we do. And the more we do, the more valuable we are. And that is a song playing, for most people in the back of their minds. And it ain't true. Nope. And most people end up doing a lot of things that are useless, that are purposeless. We fill our times with stuff to do because we have been taught it's not okay to sit still, it's not okay to rest, and that we have to always be productive. And our doing isn't productive at all. Our doing is just a lot of doing. And so one of my biggest self-care things for me is I don't do a lot of stuff I don't want to do. And of course, there are some things that, need to be done. I don't like billing. I like getting paid. I just don't like going through my thing every week and billing people. So if I can outsource that, I will. And if I can't, I do it, because getting paid is an important function of, staying in business and stuff. But I really don't fill my life with a lot of things I don't like to do. And the other cool thing is, oftentimes, if it's something that you don't like to do, you can find someone who does like to do it. Right. And you can barter, you can trade, you can pay them. But I don't like to do my social media. So I have someone who does that for me. I do the parts of it that I like looking over her plan and going, yes.
You did another great job.
Right. But I would not want that, I just love to get the content and love to make the connections. So it's about that. But a lot of us do have this conditioning that if we're not productive, quote unquote, we're not good enough. And it will keep you chasing your tail for all of eternity. And it'll wear you out.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I love that. Yes. Outsource.
Yeah.
Outsource. And it's one of those things, it is a hard thing to do, but when you do it, whoo, you just feel the magic happen.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, that felt good. I love it. Fantastic. Oh,
And
did
you
you have
can,
something?
yeah, and you can balance too, because I think so many of us too have this conditioning we have to do for others, right? Like so many people have gotten the message, quit playing, get back to work. So whatever we do for work, it's not supposed to be fun, right? And what every single human being on this planet needs, and especially those of you listening to this podcast, what y'all need is more play, more joy. And it can be everywhere. So if you think about it, sort of like if you're trying to eat healthier, right? I always tell people, think about adding things to the table rather than taking things away, right? Because that's always easier. So add some green vegetables, add some, sweet potatoes, or add, bring in more hydration. Think about adding. And I say the same thing with joy, right? Bring more joyful activities in your life. Make that commitment to do some things that bring you joy, because what will happen is it will spread and you will find certain things will no longer be needed on your plate anymore. They will just find their way off. And things that, previously maybe weren't so great are now infused with that energy of joy. And so life becomes more joyful. But we have to make room for the joy in our life, and we have to learn to follow it so that we can expand more of it into our being, which is what everybody wants. Everyone pretty much does everything in life because they want to feel good. The
Right.
problem is that most of what we do to feel good keeps us on a perpetual treadmill of trying to chase feeling good when you could have it right now.
Right. You're like gerbil, hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, you can get off.
Yeah.
Come eat this little treat, gerbil.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Yeah. This has been an amazing talk, and I have loved having you here in the space. This is what I close out every podcast with. If you were to get off now and in 10 minutes be like, oh, I wish I had said that, what would be the one thing that you would want to share with us before you go?
All right. I want to see what wants to come through. Hang on. I think it's really just about following your intuition and listening to yourself. And I mean, the theme that's sort of come up today is around being true to you. And we have so much conditioning, so many shoulds, so many, I should be this way. Intuition looks like this. This will make me happy. This should make me happy. Right? Or even this is how I should care for myself. There are times when caring for yourself is watching TV. There's times when caring for yourself is, doing something that doesn't seem like self-care at all. Sometimes caring for yourself is getting to that damn to-do list, because once you get through it, you're going to be like, oh my God, I feel so good. Right? So, and all of that is learning to listen, tuning in and learning to listen to that intuition, because we all have this inner GPS system that tells us what is right for us, what will bring us joy, peace, and pleasure in the present moment. And most of us haven't been taught to listen to it. We have been taught everything but, and in some ways the world conspires against our listening to it if we're not really careful. And so the more we can tune into that inner GPS, the more productive you'll be, if productive is your thing. But also the more peace, joy, and harmony you will bring into your life. And isn't that what you wanted all along anyway?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, love it. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your light with us. You guys, Victoria is amazing. She has a wonderful podcast. And if you haven't heard, she has a really amazing Facebook group. We're going to be sharing the links in the description below. And we're going to be sending out a blog that has some more behind the scenes of how you can see what she does for her own self-care and how she shows up for herself and her clients. So don't forget to tune into those spaces, and we will see you again here next week. Have a great one.
Well, hey there. Thanks for listening to today's episode. We would love it if you would leave us a rating and review in your favorite podcast player. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode.